Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Honest Tea. My name is Angela Malakai, and we are spilling all the tea on prosperity this season. And, the reason why I started this podcast really was around helping people to fulfill what I would call your personal legend or your hero's journey, to become inspired to be who you were always meant to be. And I believe that that is the path to prosperity, is to become more of who you are and to follow your dream, and to become the person that you were always meant to be, and that will ultimately lead you to wherever it is that you want to be. And I acknowledge that not everybody wants the same thing, and prosperity comes in many forms. But what I also believe is that when you fulfill your personal legend, and when you're following your highest excitement, when you're doing things that you love and that you enjoy, right? You're in the joy, that you're fulfilling your purpose, that you will ultimately find that heaven on earth, that prosperity for you. And so what I wanted to talk about today was, I've talked before about the be, do, have. So who you be, so who you are in the world, and who you are in terms of your energy, and what you do gives you what you have. And if you don't have what you want at the moment, if you're not bringing in the prosperity that you desire, or the life that you've always wanted, then the reason for that is either going to be because who you're being. So and that's in terms of energy, and we've talked a bit about that before, but also what you're doing. And so I know that a lot of times people believe that, that they can manifest just by speaking affirmations and journaling and meditating and walking in nature and all of those things. And absolutely, vision boards, those things can work. But there also has to be action. So, in thought, in word, and in deed, that is how you manifest. So in thought, and we've talked a lot about that, in word, in the way that you speak. And then we know, if you haven't heard this before, that there is so much power in words, and words cast spells, and that's why it's called spelling. So, and we've talked about thought. We've talked about the fact that your thoughts take just 16 seconds to start to attract other thoughts that are like that in nature and energy. And then, just 68 seconds, and then you're in momentum. So I don't want to, keep going over those points. What I want to talk about is in the deed, in the doing. So what does doing look like? And so a lot of us, you are actually receiving inspiration all the time. So I've talked to you about energy and vibration, and how you have your own unique vibration that's unique to you, and that you are always receiving, inspiration, divine inspiration, all of the time, that's unique to you, that is about you, that is aligned with you, and you are receiving signs all of the time. You might have a conversation with somebody. You might overhear someone talking. You might watch a TikTok video. You might do a meditation, and then sometime later receive some inspiration about some action you should take. But then if you decide not to do anything about it, that's your free will. So you can choose whether you do anything with the inspiration that you receive. So, that's what free will is. You get to choose how you live your life, what you create in your life, how obedient you are to the call, to your desire instead of the worry. And a lot of the times the reason why we don't fulfill what we want to is because of the fear, because we are afraid. And we feel this desire, we feel this, divine inspiration. We may not know that it's divine. And then you'll talk to your family, or you'll talk to your friends, or you'll talk to somebody else who will dampen your dream, And so one of the things that most people who have had success will say is, don't share your dream. Because a lot of the times the people in our lives are the people that will kill our dreams for us. They are not the people that you want to be sharing your dream with. And then when you get this inspiration, you need to be obedient to the call. Because you will get inspiration and you will hear it again and you will hear it again. And your higher self, your soul, your the aspect of you that is divine is going to consistently call out to you in the hope that you're going to take action and fulfill your personal legend. But the thing is, if you keep choosing not to, then you're going to start to see other people doing it, and you'll probably think, oh my God, they're doing what I want to do. I could do that, and I could even do it better. And the thing is, you probably could. There are so many people out there that are probably doing something that you could do, not as good, and still being really successful. But I want to let you know that God will never give up on you. You are always going to keep getting that inspiration. And if you truly listen to your heart, and if you cut out that noise, which we've spoken a lot about in previous episodes, if you're able to get rid of the resistance that is coming which is your negative thought patterns, the way that you speak, the people that tell you that you're not able to do the things that you want to do, if you're obedient to the call and you take action, you will have success. I've heard that Michael Jackson, that just shows that I'm Polynesian when I do that. Michael Jackson would call his producer in the middle of the night and he'd be super inspired, right? And his producer would say, can't we just do this in the morning? Like, why do you have to do it now? But he was obedient to the call, and he would say, well, if I don't take up this inspiration, it will go to someone else. And I actually feel like that's true too, because there are times when I haven't, taken up, I often get inspiration in the middle of the night. I get ideas for what I want to speak about, or something to do with my business, or whatever it is. And I always will wake up, even if it's in the middle of the night and I've got something big on, and I get this inspiration, and I'll straight away write it down or put it in my phone or send myself an email about it. That's aligned action. When you're taking action because it's inspired, because it feels good, because you're in an energy of alignment, because alignment is different from grind, So yes, absolutely, there are times when we need to take action that is not feeling as good as it would if it was aligned, and if it was fun, and if you had clarity and all of those kinds of things. But what I do want to kind of reiterate, if you haven't heard it from me before, that aligned action is different in that it is action that is inspired, that feels good, that feels like you're following your highest excitement, that feels like you're fulfilling your purpose, that when you do it, you look up hours later and you're like, oh, where'd the time go? And you actually feel good. You feel energized about it. I'll give you an example. The other day I was saying to my husband, I'm going to put on dinner. I'm just going to do this. And, I said to him, I'll start dinner in about half an hour. Well, I was so engrossed in what I was doing. An hour later, I say something to my husband thinking that he's still in the room, and he wasn't even there anymore. I've looked up and gone, where's he gone? And I realized he's actually been downstairs cooking dinner for half an hour. I didn't even realize he'd left the room because I was so in the zone, or what the kids call, what did they call it? Locked in, right? I was so locked in to what I was doing. I was hyper focused on what I was doing. And the reason I was so hyper focused is because I was actually loving it, because there's lots of parts of what I do in terms of my, building what I'm building, that I just absolutely love. And I love helping people and coaching people and inspiring people and helping people to fulfill their purpose, because I believe that as I fulfill mine, that will hopefully, my hope is that you'll be inspired to fulfill yours. And it has meant that I've had to be brave a lot of the time, and it has meant that I've had to do things in hours when other people are not doing things. But it also means that I have quite a bit of freedom with in other ways. So what I want to say is, you don't need to, although you do need to take some action. So I don't want you to think that you don't need to take action, because you absolutely do. And yes, if you're working on something, then you need to do whatever it takes to make that happen. If you've got a dream, keep working on it and work on it to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Absolutely. But you don't have to do things when it comes from being in the grind and being in the energy of pushing and pushing and pushing, and because you will get there that way, but it will just be more difficult. Whereas if you just stop, if you take aligned action, if you ask yourself, where am I actually following my highest excitement, and where do I actually believe that what I am doing? So for example, for me, right, I believe in sharing my message and speaking and utilizing my voice. Do I believe that this can sustain me and fulfill me and give me prosperity so that I can actually live off it and do it for my life? Absolutely. Now, that can be anything. But don't get confused. That's the other thing I would say, is that quite often, especially if you're trying to build something, and if you truly believe that whatever you want, your vision for your life and what you want to do and how you want to serve the world, because it doesn't matter, you've heard me say this 100 times, it doesn't matter what you want to do. If you want to create pottery for a living, if you want to conduct choirs for a living, if you want to manufacture shoes for a living, I don't care what it is, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat. If you literally floats your boat, like if you want to take people out on marine tours, whatever you want to do, whatever feels good to you, whatever feels like purpose, whatever feels like drive, and if that changes over your lifetime, magnificent. Whatever it is that you want to do, stay hyper focused, get locked in on what that is. Because the other thing I see is that when somebody has a hero's journey and what they want to do in a way that they want to serve the world, and then what happens is that they'll go, oh, I could do that too, and I could actually do that too, and I could do that too, oh, and I can make money doing that too, and I could do that too. And when they do that, you're kind of splitting that energy, and so you're not being able to bring in that prosperity, because you're splitting your energy amongst all of these different things, which not only confuses the energy, but it confuses like the ability for God, for the universe, for however you address your divine, your creator, to give you what you want, because you're all over the shop. So, and that's one thing that I had to learn, because I was really thinking, oh, I kind of like this, and I kind of like that, and I could do that, and yes, I could do that, and absolutely I can do that, and I'm smart enough to do that. And I was splitting my energy all over the place. And when I became laser focused and just realized, like, this is actually what I want to do with my life, and I know, and I know for damn sure what my message is, and I know who I am, and I'm happy to turn up how I am, and I'm happy to turn up honestly in the HONESTea and just be me, be genuinely who I am. When I did that, everything changed. And discipline, when it's aligned, becomes love. But discipline, when it's forced, becomes a chore, and it becomes exhaustion, and it becomes overwhelm. And this is the difference I'm trying to help you to understand. So when you are in a place of discipline, that is helping you to achieve your dream, that has you locked in and focused and feeling good about what you're doing, that can become joy and love and alignment, right? But when you're forcing discipline on yourself, that doesn't feel good and that doesn't feel aligned, and you're pushing, for example, you might be pushing a relationship that no longer serves you, and you're constantly driving and pushing to get this, whether that's a business relationship or a personal relationship, and you're constantly focusing on it, and you're constantly trying to make something happen that is just not meant to happen. It doesn't even make you feel good, and it doesn't even make you feel fulfilled, and it doesn't even feel like it's the right space for you, and it doesn't feel like your highest excitement. If you're pushing and forcing something, that's when it can turn into overwhelm and grind and exhaustion and all of those kinds of things. But when you understand that in the doing can feel good and feel exciting, and when you're always asking yourself, even in small moments, oh, does this feel good to me? You know, what is it that I'm about to do next? Which decision do I have to make out of those two things, out of those two choices I have, or those three choices, or however many choices you have? What makes me feel good in that moment? And you always know, you always know. You think you don't know, but being decisive is one of the most valuable traits that leaders have, you know. They are incredibly decisive, and they know themselves. And the other thing is they're happy to make the mistake. So, you know, they're not worried if they choose the wrong meal, or if they even make the wrong, you know, venture in business, or because they always know that they're going to learn from it. Nothing really is a mistake. And that's why they can also be decisive. And so I challenge you, if you're not decisive, to become decisive, and to make decisions, and just ask yourself, what do I feel good about today? You know, even if it's, some people struggle just to get up in the morning and decide what to wear. If you're one of those people, just get up in the morning, pull out an outfit, and just ask yourself, out of these two, what feels the most good, and then wear that, and be okay with the result of wearing that is going to be. And just make small decisions, because as you do, you know, what I talk about, which is the one small vote. As you vote, you know, even in small ways for yourself, you start to vote again and again and again in these really small ways, by making decisive decisions that feel good in the moment. Every time somebody asks you to make a decision, that you make it, that you're always moving forward, and then you'll start to be able to make bigger decisions, and those decisions will feel better and feel good. So that's essentially my message for today, is that you are always receiving divine inspiration. You are always getting signs all of the time. You just need to be aware of them. So if you you know, have a conversation, like I said, you know, see something, you know, if something is calling to you. For example, you know, I always knew from a very young age that I really loved for example, I love to enter speech competitions. I also love to write, I always wanted to do the creative writing. I also always love to be on the debate team. I always, I'm always the one that whenever we have a family thing, I'm always the MC, or I'm always the person who does the speeches. I mean, it couldn't have been clearer, right? Because not only did I enjoy it, but God kept calling me to these things all of the time. Even when I wasn't doing it professionally, still personally, I was still called to these things. And when I think about that, about my life, all of the times that I felt the best and felt the most fulfilled is when I've been utilizing my voice, when I've been talking to people and inspiring people and helping people and training people. And every single aspect of what I was doing, even when I was in corporate leadership, was still around coaching and helping people, and just in the way that I do now. And I was always being pulled, to do what I do now and to help people and to serve people in the way that I do now. So if you feel like you're not sure, have a listen for the call, become aware of what it is that you desire, and then if you can't, just start to be decisive, like I said, in small ways. Make small micro decisions, and then change by, just those little 1%ers will change everything. Stay obedient to the desire instead of the worry, and be okay to be perfectly imperfect. And every time you feel that desire or that divine inspiration, follow the call, even in little moments, and eventually you will get to where you need to be. You will hear your big calling. You will know in and of yourself what it is that you were put on the planet to do. And whatever that is, when you start to follow it, the prosperity will follow you. When you follow who you're meant to be and you do what it is that you're meant to do, the prosperity is a byproduct of that. Absolutely 100%. I know it. I believe it. I've seen it over and over again. And that's how, that's how I intend to continue to utilize my life. I'm not even where I want to be, but I know I'm getting more and more there every day. And, and I want to encourage you to do that too, because I get to really love my life. I love what I do, and I have a really great life, and I get to really enjoy it, and that's what I want for you. So as always, I'm going to leave you with with this, which is that my prayer, my wish, my hope for you is that you will lead boldly and live fully and heal deeply, and that you will continue to make those votes for yourself. One small vote is all it takes. One small decision is all it takes every day. And I cannot thank you enough for joining me today, and spending your precious, precious, precious time with me. You have no idea how amazing that is, and I cannot thank you enough. You are so appreciated. You are so loved. You are so adored. And I thank you again, and I hope to see you next week.